So here's my plan today. I am going to use this great big oak tree right here, and I'm going to put a ladder stand on it. I've got this corner of the woods right here. I've got field right here, comes up to a corner. I've got field all the way along here, and it's very shrubby and very thick out this way. Any deer that wants to come out of this field and cross through has to come right through here and go into all this thick stuff back here. Or there's a trail that cuts through here and then they can turn and go back in that way. Same thing coming back to get out into this field. This is really the only spot that they can cross without going all the way to the other side of the woods. And there is just a ton of deer sign right here. There is deer poop all over the place. There are scrapes, there are rubs. All over here where it's super thick, there's tons of bedding sign. I was out here a couple days ago, there was still snow on the ground, and the deer had bedding spots, more than I could count. I got up to like 27 spots where the snow was melted, and I just gave up on counting. I knew there was a bunch of deer. My problem that I have is so many of these trees out here are toppled over. You can see all these trees right here. They're all nasty willow and basswood that, I mean, you can even see the lean to them. So we had a tornado warning out here a few years ago, and that just tilted all of these trees like crazy. And several of them are going to come down. There's no doubt in my mind about it. Possibly this spring, all of these leaners will even rip the roots right up and come over. But you can see so many of them come up and snap. They're so weak. They're so brittle. And I don't want to be anywhere near any of these thin, cheap, brittle willow trees. Or some of them are basswood. Either way, they just topple right over. What they've done for me is created a thick spot right here that the deer cannot get through. The trees that snapped over, the tops of them are so thick, the deer don't get through it at all. They bed near it, but they cannot go straight through that way. They have to funnel past me right here. And I am fortunate in this corner right here. I've got several of these elms, I've got several maples, I've got several oak trees, which not only are going to be nice and solid to put a ladder stand on, but they're also going to create acorn mass for these deer to come up and eat on. Ideally, I wouldn't normally throw my ladder stand on an acorn tree because there's going to be deer in the fall right underneath this thing eating. Oh, right there, nice rub on a tree. And those deer coming up here, they're going to get really close to me. But typically, when I'm back in the woods up in a ladder stand, the deer will eat right underneath me, and they don't know that I'm even there. So if I can get them to sneak in close enough to where they're comfortable eating underneath me, then that's definitely close enough for a shot if it's a deer worth shooting. Lots and lots of these little thin saplings, or whatever we're going to call them, that have all these thorns on them. Lots of maple saplings out here. Lots of opportunity for a lot of woody browse. Tons of this little growth stuff going on down here. Everywhere you step, you have shoots coming up from the ground. Whether it's got thorns, or whether it's going to be maple saplings, or whatever. And in the summertime and in the fall, it's very thick once the leaves are out and all the foliage is there. Very thick. So I might have to come back in the summertime and maybe clear some shooting lanes or some sight lanes as I look out over this. But right now I'm just going to get the ladder stand up, and I'm going to get some burlap around it for a little bit of cover, so if I'm moving around some, it's less visible. And I'm going to hang up another trail cam. I've got one right here. I'll probably put a second one out here. As of right now, the majority of the deer that come through here actually follow. There's a pretty dominant trail that comes right up through here and goes under this tree. These logs were here, and they went across, and the deer were like hopping and weaving and all kinds of stuff trying to get through here. So my thought was, if I brought my chainsaw and cut this up some and made this path easier, it might get used more. I could totally see how a large buck would have a problem jumping a log here, going under one, jumping one, and then hitting its rack on this tree right here. I mean, I would hit my head unless I crouched and crawled under. But you can see the trail as it comes up through here. And then just over here, I'm not going to get incredibly close to it because it stinks a little bit. there's a dead deer. And this was a nice little 8-point. I probably wouldn't have shot it. Someone else must have. I found it a couple weeks ago, took the rack off of it, and left it laying for coyote bait. Something certainly is enjoying eating on it. I've not seen it, and I've not gotten it on my camera yet, but the deer like the space, so I'm gonna get around and I'm gonna get that stand set up. I've got my stand and everything I need laying right out here. There's deer poop all over the place out here. And before I get going, I gotta get myself some energy. I've been busy today cutting and splitting firewood. Sweet, she's up. Okay, I have the ladder stand completely set up here. And I'm going to give you a view from up top. So if I'm looking straight down, there's my broken tripod. But you can see there's lots of stuff laying around down here. And as I'm circling around, you can see there's not stuff here, because that is the deer trail that comes in. They go under that leaning tree and out into all this thick stuff over here. That's my pile of stuff over there, my Red Bull, my plastic and stuff. And then here's my way in from the field. You can see I kind of cleared a path there so I can come in and come right to this. I'll probably clean some of this junk up a little bit to give me a straight shot without tripping over logs and stuff in the dark. But looking out over a little farther out, here's that line of downed trees that the deer cannot get through. I can see all the way across the woods right now, way out into there, but the deer can't cross through this. So instead, they have to come around, come up through here, because it's a little more open, and then turn in. Or there's a trail that comes right out through that field right there. Actually, it's right there where that little gap is. Over here, it's pretty thick. It doesn't look very thick from up here, but it's thick enough that I'm not walking through that. It's full of thorns, but it's also full of deer poop. When there's snow on the ground, there's bedding area. There's bedding area all out through this. So I've got my trail cam here. I'm going to put another one up, I think, facing this deer. That dead deer is right there. I want to see what's happening to that and what's eating on that. Might be some neat video. And I'm going to get down. I'll give a quick look at this ladder stand from down on the ground. And then I'm going to get the heck out of here. Okay, so here I am from the ground. There's my ladder stand. You can see the burlap is flapping around up there. And at first when I started using burlap, I couldn't stand that. But now I actually think that it helps a little bit, because as deer wander by and they see that constant movement up there, they get used to movement in that very specific spot. And then if I'm sitting up there and a deer's here and I don't know it and I move, they're already used to the movement. So I don't feel like that movement actually scares the deer once they get used to it. And today is like January 8th or 9th. I don't know, but it's mid-January. They got an entire spring and summer and fall to get used to that. So not worried about that. Here's my deer trail going underneath that tree. Here's my trail cam. There's my shadow. And I just uploaded about 100 videos off that camera. So if I have anything super awesome, once I get to checking them, I'll splice it in at the end of this video.